Jay-Z withdraws his motion for sanctions against Attorney Buzbee in the Jane Doe case. Hi, my name is Dr. Lillie Coley, and let's talk about it, everybody. Yes, everybody. Jay-Z has withdrew his motion for sanctions against Tony Buzbee in the Jane Doe case against the 13-year-old allegations, et cetera, et cetera. If you don't know about that, we'll put a link in there and you can check it out. But somewhere last night, I want to say about 10:30, on Ticket TV, there was breaking news that Jay-Z had withdrawn his motion. Just to give you a little small background, and we'll look at a couple clips and we'll be on our way. The basic thing is there was a 13-year-old girl who had made allegations against adults who had said that she was handled in a misconduct way, in a great way. Nonetheless, there were some lawsuits out there, and Mr. Carter apparently wanted to challenge the attorney in that regard, saying that he had filed these things and didn't know the girl, hadn't met the girl, but he had, and some other allegations he might have had. And as a result, he filed a motion for sanctions. What are sanctions? Sanctions are something that you put against another person for violating something. In this regard, it was an attorney. They're saying an attorney filed something and they shouldn't have filed it because they knew better, because this was missing or that was missing, etc. And the attorney in this case would have to or should be punished. So you can punish people with sanctions. So sanctions are only done when necessary and needed and when there's proof. And we're going to talk about, because I got my own story with sanctions, everybody, and how we had circumstances and situations with sanctions that shouldn't have been. But before we go any further, we're going to go right into the clip that I wanted you all to see in regard to this particular case, if you will. We're looking at this because this is an important thing for the public to see how this stuff kind of manifests into the community, so to speak. So I'm going to go and look and see what I did with the file. So hold on, everybody, as we go and look and see. Here we are. We're going to come back here to this window here, and we're going to share it. So stay tuned for this little clip from Ticket TV, who's giving you breaking story on Jay-Z withdrawing his motion against Tony Buzbee last night through a fax to the court. And it was about 4 sentences in regard to the circumstance and situation. Here we go, everybody.
Oh my God. So for everybody who don't know what's going on, Tony Buzbee have been out here dropping a goddamn slew of lawsuits against Diddy. He dropped a whole rack of lawsuits against Diddy again today. He dropped a lawsuit against Jay-Z. Jay-Z's lawyer originally came out and said that he had threatened to drop multiple lawsuits on Jay-Z. But now, Jay-Z just did something, man. Oh my God, man. I don't know what the hell is going on, bro. Ladies and gentlemen, for you guys, what is going on, bro? So Jay-Z had been fighting Tony Buzbee tooth and nail. Jay-Z and his lawyer going in on Tony Buzbee, saying all these different things about Tony Buzbee and these lawsuits he made. And now, ladies and gentlemen, for some reason, and I had the paperwork right here, Jay-Z has, without prejudice, withdrawn his motion to file for sanctions against Tony Buzbee. Let me repeat myself again. Jay-Z had came out and filed for sanctions against Tony Buzbee. And he basically said that he was going to fight this thing. And now, all of a sudden, as of right now, the paperwork have just dropped in this lawsuit. Diddy, as y'all can see, excuse me, Jay-Z, as y'all can see, has just dropped. It says, Dear Judge Torres, that's the judge that's over this case with Jay-Z and this girl, accuser, this girl that y'all said was lying. Because she said that she had some of her, details wrong. It says, we write on behalf of defendant Sean Carter to respectfully request that Mr. Carter's motion for sanctions pursuant to Federal Rule of Civil Procedure 11, document number 60, be withdrawn at this time without prejudice. We have discussed this matter with Tony Buzbee, who consents to this submission and agrees to the withdrawal without prejudice. Respectfully submitted, Quinn Emanuel, Urquhart, and Sullivan LLP, Jay-Z's lawyers. What in the blue hell is going on? For you guys who don't know what happened, Jay-Z spoke with Tony Buzbee. Jay-Z's lawyer spoke with Tony Buzbee. And now, all of a sudden, Jay-Z has backed down.
Okay, I'm going to pause right there, everybody, because I think that's a good place to pause. But basically, in a nutshell, I think it's very self-explanatory that Mr. Carter, Jay-Z, has withdrawn his motion for sanction against Attorney Buzbee. You saw the letter, you saw the information. So the question is why and what happens next? So he says in the letter without prejudice, meaning he can do it again. But the whole premise is that when you bring motions for sanctions, it's because somebody has done something. Just a little pivot. We're going to look at another video, and then I'll talk about my own personal story in that regard. And quickly, it's basically, we were sanctioned, my godson and I were sanctioned for allegations that never occurred in an order that don't exist. There was supposedly a gag order or another order saying certain things about files. Neither one existed. But because we were dealing with allegations of fraud and corruption, we felt that this was the cover up. In other words, you got to lie and keep on lying. So there was motion for sanctions against us for violating court orders, which turned into attorney fees that we never paid for and was not going to pay for, which eventually turned into liens on my property. That's how I got there, y'all. Motion for sanctions for stuff that didn't happen, no due process, no hearing, just went right into what you wanted to do, and the judge signing an order with no due process, no evidence, et cetera, that led into attorney fees. The attorney fees obviously was not going to be paid because it was based on what we believe is fraud, all allegations, and then we're going to keep saying what we got to say. And those allegations and things led to a lien on my property. That's what I'm trying to get at. I'm trying to say it, y'all. I'm trying to say it. Help me out. Okay? So we're going to look at another person that's very good on the internet. And she did a review as well. And she has her own take on what she think might have happened. But it is what it is. We're hoping and praying that justice will prevail no matter who is involved. I'm not really caught up in all that kind of stuff, y'all. I just want justice to prevail because that's what I'm about. I'm into what's right and what's wrong. I'm not saying nobody's perfect and have to be, and I'm not saying you can't have mercy and grace because we all have it. What I'm saying is, I know from my experiences, along with my godson can attest as well, is that things can take a long time coming on stuff that happens when it comes down to justice because people want to play with you, because people want money, people agree. And in this case for us, because who we were fighting against had money, I believe the attorneys and the judges looked at this as an opportunity. They turned into opportunists. In other words, we're going to make some money off of this. And it was on our backs. We were collateral damage, but we were also the victims. So it wasn't just because we were there, but that was part of it. So this is another one from Tisha Tales that I'm going to play for you guys.
It is happening. Jay-Z is bracing, and I mean bracing, for what's coming next. Remember we said that there is a bombshell coming Jay-Z's way, and we wondered whether he knew it or not. It appears that he is aware and he is bracing for it. What proof do we have? The fact that Jay-Z has changed tack in the lawsuit against Tony Buzbee. Again, I repeat, Jay-Z has dropped his lawsuit against Tony Buzbee. Y'all, let's get into this. This is directly hot off the presses. Jay-Z has withdrawn his complaint against Tony Buzbee, representing a woman who claims that Jay-Z raped her. Now, if you guys don't know, Jay-Z was going down onto the mat. He was swinging left and right. They said they had proof. They said they had evidence. Jay-Z's biggest supporters were saying Tony Buzbee's a liar. Sir, you remember when he was talking big and bad? You picked the wrong one. I am not that person, Tony Buzbee, blah, 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 blah. Your career is over. He literally withdrew that complaint. Okay? Now, here's what they say. Jay-Z has vociferously denied the allegation and had asked the New York judge overseeing the case to sanction Buzbee, who Jay-Z accused of trying to extort him. Now, we always said this is not extortion. Every legal person in the world said it's not extortion. However, the public wanted to believe that Jay-Z was being extorted simply by somebody filing a lawsuit against you. Now, we did say a while back that sets a dangerous precedent, because if people are allowed to file extortion lawsuits just because you say, hey, can we sit down and talk about this? Dumb liar, right? It's very, very to save face, because Jay-Z literally thought that everything he accused Tony Buzbee of, you're trying to bully, you're trying to intimidate, you're trying to harass. Jay-Z, it sounds like you were trying.
Okay, so I'm just going to pause this because she's saying the same thing. The Ticket TV, in my opinion, he gave some very crucial information. He basically said, I hope you all can hear me. Yeah. He basically said that, he showed the docket number paper from the court, and that's all that matters. So in a nutshell, everybody, what do you think? Do you think that this particular thing of withdrawing your motion is when he's getting ready for some bigger stuff coming? Do you think that? Because we understand it to be true. In my own personal experience, as I just said, that a motion for sanctions should only be when something really happened, not to intimidate, not to bully, and not to try to control people. In our case, they tried to bully us or bully me and out of the case. And then when that didn't work, they blocked me from the court. Y'all hear about it all later. But at the end of the day, the motion for sanctions is to deter someone from filing something they shouldn't file. And in our regard, I was able to file something because I had a right to do so. And as a result of that, they wanted to illegally, in my opinion, my belief, and even though there's allegations that the sanctions will come upon me for attorney fees. So imagine this, the attorneys who started the fraud, for the allegations of fraud, for the misconduct in terms of their addresses of their client, this all started from there, same case, led to where it's at. And now you want to take the same attorneys and do a motion for sanctions against the party they lied against, and then take money from that person saying attorney fees, then turn around and get that from the person's house when they sell it. So they took the money from the sale of the house, the escrow, based all the way back on the fraud from the beginning, from the allegations that never were litigated and the due process never occurred. So you sanction people, you did stuff on motions on things that had no value, no legal value, no credibility, if you will, and you tried to use that to bully the person. It didn't work. So then you tried to sanction them for money. That didn't work. So then you just kicked them out of the court. That's exactly what happened to us. So I have my own story when it comes down to motion for sanctions. But at the end of the day, it's supposed to be a real mechanism to deter mainly attorneys from doing the wrong things in the court. And when you get in court with a motion for sanctions, you got to have proof. In our case, there was no proof and no due process. Get that picture. But the judge signed the order anyway, trying to make believe or read in and recharacterize an order that don't exist. It's just mind-boggling. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. So what do you think, everybody? Do you think that this is Mr. Carter is doing this to set up for the next thing that's happening, or did he realize that bullying and trying to use these tactics, whether it was him or an attorney, whoever idea this was not a good idea? Which one is it? Who knows, right? But either way, he has officially and legally withdrawn his motion against Tony Buzbee, the attorney who's against the Jane Doe, the 13-year-old girl that has allegations where they're saying all these bad things about him and talking about Tony Buzbee and talking about his suit and talking about this and talking about that. But thank God for Tony Buzbee that he stayed focused on the main thing. And the main thing was the victim. Hello, somebody. So I just want to come on to let you guys know what I know. And I'm sure you're going to hear about it from other people, but I always want to relate it to my own life, my own case, and my own circumstances, because a lot of this stuff overlaps and people need to know what other people been through so they can try to avoid it. They can try to have alternatives, or they can be informed so they can be educated and informed. Thank you so much for participating today with the Keeping It Real with Dr. Lil. I look forward to talking and seeing you guys. We're going to be doing some things in the community. Just be encouraged. Stay focused on what you're supposed to be focused on. It's not about being vendetta, or you know what I'm trying to say. I can't say it right now. It's not about being hateful and meanful is what I'm trying to get at. It's about doing what's right in the eyes of God when it comes down to justice, because God loves justice, and just doing what's right. You don't have to beat somebody down and talk about them all night and day in a negative way, but just speak the facts and talk what you got to talk and say what you got to say. And you want to be whole. I understand that. I want to be whole too, because when you go through this legal kind of sort of abuse that you feel that you've been beat down and wore down by the system that you uphold and you pay for, it hurts. So, at the end of the day, I'm just glad that we have a court that's in the public that can show you what is supposed to be done and how it's supposed to be done. And kudos to the judges in that case. Judge Annalisa Torres, can encourage her, pray for her, send good words and stuff her way, because she needs it. And I'm so glad that she's been able to carry this case along and just keep it moving so it can do what it's supposed to do, bring about justice for the land, not just for one person, but for all the persons that may be involved. Thank you so much. This is Dr. Lillie M. Coley. I am signing out on Keeping It Real with Dr. Lil. We look forward to talking with you real soon in the near future. God bless everybody.